We know he was one of the greatest rhythm guitarists and riff generators of all rock history. Indisputable. But there's lots of conjecture about whether Malcolm Young actually played some lead guitar on any ACDC songs. If so, which ones, and was he any good? Well, let's resolve that question right now. There's an oft-quoted Angus Young line: "If Malcolm sits down to play a solo, he can do it better than me." And I'm not sure. What are the facts? Well, we know Mel played the odd tasty solo because in '73, just before recording ACDC's debut album High Voltage, he played this one on Stevie Wright's phenomenal Evie Part 1. That same year, he played a nice little blues solo on a song called Silver Shoes Strawberry Wine by the Marcus Hook Roll Band. Wally Waller, who was there in the studio when this was recorded, tells the story on his Beyond Pretty Things channel right here on YouTube. Go and have a squiz. We also know Malcolm Young played lead guitar on Soul Stripper from ACDC's first album because he traded licks with younger bro Angus, and it's easy to hear the difference in their approach, the attack and the dexterity. And there are live clips of the lads sharing this one. But what about the claims that Mel played other solos on the album? Murray Engelhart and Arnaud Durieu's bestseller ACDC Maximum Rock and Roll claims Malcolm Young contributed lead guitar to 4 tracks on High Voltage. Soul Stripper, You Ain't Got a Hold on Me, Show Business, in which he also traded licks, and Little Lover. Jeff Apter's brilliant book, Malcolm Young, The Man Who Made AC/DC, concurs, and Jeff had access to people who were hanging around at the time, in particular Mal's great mate Herm Kovac. And Susan Messino's book, AC/DC FAQ, states, on their very first album, which was recorded in 10 days, Angus and Malcolm traded off playing lead. Malcolm playing lead guitar on 4 songs was explained by Angus. He said, Mel played solos on 4 tracks from our first album when the 2 of us had traded off. Mel is a good soloist. He can probably do what I do quite well. He plays lead like he would play rhythm, and that doesn't sound like anyone else. When we used to trade licks, it was always the same way. He's a very good performer, the heart of the band. And I don't think anyone would argue with any of Angus's words there. And the way that's worded, played solos on 4 tracks from our first album when the 2 of us had traded off. Maybe both of them soloed on all the songs and then... But to my nerdy ears, something's amiss. So let's get forensic. I've written all these solos out so that we can really get down amongst the weeds here and figure out what's going on. So let's start with Soul Stripper, because we know he played on that one. It's black and white when you listen to it. It's the middle section where the brothers trade 4s in this one. But I will point out that the intro solo is all Angus, as is the outro. So let's move on to You Ain't Got a Hold on Me. Now this definitely sounds different to Angus's usual fare, and after digesting Mel's licks on Soul Stripper, I can hear that it's very similar in tone and attack and delivery. The more I listen to Malcolm soloing, the more I reckon he was listening to Tony Iommi at the time. My conclusion, this is Malcolm. Which brings us to show business. Now, this gave me the most trouble, in part because it features at least 90 bars of soloing throughout the piece. Now, there are definitely two distinct tones on this one, starting with what is clearly Malcolm's thinner, brighter tone from his lower output Filtertron pickups, as opposed to Angus's humbuckers in his SG. The playing is also distinctly more Chuck Berry-ish than Angus's usual style, and Mel plays within the standard pentatonic shape like 90% of the time. After the first verse and chorus, Angus peels off a 2-bar phrase that is instantly recognisable in both tone and 2 bursts of his violent vibrato. So we can hear the difference straight away. As soon as I heard that, I went, Mel did the intro. The song's second solo after the second chorus is again clearly Angus. He plays the first 12 bars mostly in E major pentatonic, which is something that we don't usually hear Mel do. His phrasing is always more varied and interesting than his brothers. Not to deride Malcolm's playing, but Angus, he has that thing, he has that quality. He slips in 16th note, this song's a shuffle, a very standard swing, sort of old school rock and roll Chuck Berry style song, but Angus manages to fit in 16th note runs, so do 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 da do da 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 da, and of course that vibrato. Angus moves to E minor pentatonic for the second 12-bar cycle, although he still includes the major third in a few choice places. The 2-bar lick after the third chorus is again Angus. Then we have another 24-bar solo. Now, this one seems to be Mel. This is the part I had trouble with. It's Mel's tone, and the vibrato is never Angus's wild but controlled trilling. But if it's Malcolm, it's his best and most assured playing on record. It's really well executed. Up and down the neck, playing sixths and double stops, and the whole thing just exhibits like a sort of upbeat confidence that we don't usually hear in his other outings. I mean, it's still a relatively simple blues solo, which has got Mel stamped all over it, but due to the perfect delivery, I almost had myself convinced that perhaps Angus had picked up Mel's Gretsch and overdubbed it, done another take, especially once I heard this run in the 12th measure. That's a very Angus phrase. Angus quite often moved laterally across the strings in fourths, which is something that a lot of us find a little bit tricky on guitar. It's easier to play linear lines. But I'm sure Malcolm was capable of this. And in fact, if we go back to that Evie solo, he does a very similar run. So, I mean, they both grew up with the same influences. They played guitar around each other every day. So they're going to have some of the same licks in their repertoire. But I'm sure Malcolm was capable of doing all of this. It is just a great take, just a really good take. Guitar Player magazine published a link to a live clip from 1975 showing Mel playing that solo. Well, not clearly showing it, I might add, because for most of the clip, Mel's guitar is inaudible in the mix. So like his intro solo, you can't hear a note of it. And to make things worse, the video is really poorly edited, making it look like Angus plays the first half of Mel's solo. But if you watch closely, those snippets where Malcolm is visible, he's clearly playing the notes from his own solo. My conclusion on this one is that Mel plays the 12-bar intro solo. And the 24-bar lead break immediately after the fourth chorus. Angus plays all the rest, all the 2-bar licks in between every chorus and verse, and the first 24-bar lead break, and the entire outro solo. So much guitar on this track, great track. Now, the fourth song mentioned of High Voltage as a vehicle for Malcolm's lead guitar work is Little Lover. This just sounds like Angus to me. It's the crazily intense vibrato, the flying fingers on his trademark, blistering pentatonic descents. It's definitely not Mel. The Peel session recorded live in '76 also exhibits Angus's perfect and unique vibrato. Conclusion, not Malcolm Young. However, this song features a super cool outro where the brothers jam as the song fades out. And while it's clearly Angus doing the single note lines, Malcolm does play some sweet chordal embellishments throughout. It's also worth mentioning that Angus's solo on Little Lover features two-handed tapping. 1973 in Melbourne. Well, where did that come from? Pretty sure he didn't learn it on Musician. He's probably doing it with his pick. But nonetheless, trailblazer. So I think the fourth song of High Voltage that Angus refers to and everyone references in their books is actually Can I Sit Next to You Girl, not Little Lover. It's not really a guitar solo as such. It's not improvised. It's more of a Chuck Berry double stop sort of break that happens in the intro of the song. It's a really cool little part, but that's Malcolm. That's Malcolm's playing. You can tell it's his influences, and on Countdown, on the Countdown clip where they play this. Yeah, Malcolm's playing it on there. Or at least miming it, I don't know. So I've seen countless online forums where fans have speculated about Malcolm playing lead on other songs as well. And, Can I Sit Next to You Girl gets mentioned. As I said, I don't think of that as a true guitar solo as such, but still, yeah, it counts. It's lead guitar. Another one is Baby Please Don't Go. And yes, he's playing kind of lead lines, but all he's really playing is that the main figure that Angus plays, but Malcolm is playing it down an octave lower. They're playing the same lines together. So again, not improvisation, not a guitar solo as such. Gone Shootin', I've seen people speculate that one, Gone Shootin' off Power Age, which is a great song. I don't think this is Mel. It's quite stationary playing. Again, Angus never really plays like that. He's always changing between, even if he's remaining within the pentatonic scale, he uses different pentatonic shapes to get different phrases and runs. This solo it doesn't do that. So I think that's why people think that it's not Angus. But the vibrato is a dead giveaway. And that attack, it's got Angus's attack on it. He's got a very distinct way he attacks the strings, especially the treble strings. You hear lots of pick attack on there. There's a Live in Nashville 78 clip, although there's no video footage, but you can clearly hear that it's Angus playing. It's even more of his vibrato. And there's a live clip of the band doing it in 2009. I know that's much later, but again, it's Angus playing the solo. I find no reason to believe that this is a Malcolm Young guitar solo. Go on, Shootin. So, conclusion, Malcolm plays sweet bluesy leads on 3 Akadaka tracks off High Voltage, their debut album, Soul Stripper, You Ain't Got a Hold on Me, and Show Business, and also contributes some lead-ish parts to a smattering of other tracks. Can I Sit Next to You Girl and Baby Please Don't Go. That's it. From that point on, there's no lead guitar from Malcolm Young on any recordings that we know of. That's it, guys. Thanks for hanging out and chatting, and please give me a like, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so that you know when I'm doing another clip. And look, life is getting very busy at the moment. I apologise, the last 2, I always try and do a weekly clip, but the last 2 weeks I didn't get one out because gigs are back on, and I'm getting other work in this avenue, sitting here playing my guitar, which is wonderful. So I'll do what I can. Thank you. Thanks for your support.